Just got to my hotel room. Lovely looking room. I wonder what the balcony view's like. Well, if it isn't North Korea. North Korea, one of the world's most secretive countries. The borders have been shut to tourists since the start of the COVID pandemic, barring a few select events recently, like the Pyongyang Marathon. But what if there was another way to see North Korea? Join me as I travel to Dandong, China's largest border city with the DPRK. I will explore the city and travel 60 kilometers along the border to see just what can be uncovered about life on the other side. To get to the Korean border, I first took a flight to Shenyang, then a bullet train to Dandong. Outside the station, I was greeted by a huge statue of Chairman Mao. I then headed down to the riverside. The Yalu River forms the boundary between countries on the western part of the border. Both Chinese and North Korean boats are allowed to use it, so long as neither docks on the opposite side. And there it is, the first time I saw North Korea. I then walked towards the Sino-Korean Friendship Bridge, which connects the two countries by road and rail, where I saw something unexpected. A lorry going across from China. And there's another one. Next to the bridge is the Yalu River Broken Bridge, so called as the Korean side was bombed by the USA during the Korean War. Now it's a platform for tourists looking for a view into North Korea. So naturally, that was the first thing I was going to do here. I bought a ticket, headed up, and saw this statue. The statue is called For Peace, and it shows the first group of heroic Chinese soldiers who crossed the river to help Korea fight the Americans in 1950. As you could see, the lorries were now queuing up to leave China as I made my way to the end of the bridge, accompanied by patriotic Chinese music. I then found myself at the very end of the bridge. It's a North Korean Ferris wheel. That's a car moving. Next stop was boarding a tourist boat that would take me closer to the far bank. super interesting to see all the Korean riverside industry up close, as well as seeing some North Koreans in the flesh. For lunch, I found one of the many North Korean restaurants in Dandong that had some delicious North Korean cold noodles, seafood cakes, and pickled veg sides. I checked into my hotel, which had a riverside balcony view, before taking a taxi to the newer part of Dandong. Here, there was a retired Chinese warship docked. I was told that foreigners were not allowed to take photos here, but as you can see, I managed to snap a few. The little information I have on this is that it's potentially a guided missile frigate, around 100 meters long, and was built in the 1980s. From here, I could see the new Yalu River Bridge. Construction started in 2011, but construction on the Korean side was never completed before the pandemic. So the $350 million mega project is currently not in use. Next, I went to Jinjiangshan Park, where I got panoramic views of Dandong and Korea from this beautiful hilltop pavilion.
The view into North Korea. You can see the bridge. And where it goes off into the distance. There's the Mao statue outside the station. The bridge and Korea.
After seeing a second pavilion in the park, I headed back down to the riverside where I continued to walk alongside it.
There's lorries coming back into China now.
Dandong is a region famous for its fruit, particularly strawberries, so I knew I had to pick up a box. As the sun was setting, I kept on walking along the riverside towards Moon Island, but instead of heading there, I walked away from the river to Andong Old Street. Andong, meaning pacifying the east, is the former name of the city. It was changed in 1965 to Dandong, which means red east, to avoid imperialistic connotations. The Old Street is decorated to reflect the architecture of Dandong in the early 20th century, and is full of food stalls. You can also see various folk art forms like song and dance on display. Unfortunately, you'll just have to imagine the delicious Northeast specialty seafood skewers I had for dinner. After dinner, it was time to head back to the riverside to see what North Korea looked like at night. And yeah, there you have it. There were indeed lights on in the buildings on the other side.
Balcony view. Here they come. Beep beep.
The next day for breakfast, I had my Dandong strawberries and some cakes I bought at the Old Street. Did you know that you can see into North Korea from the Great Wall of China? Well, now you do. My plan today was to travel 15 kilometers northeast to see this wonder of the world. before going a further 50 kilometers along the North Korean border to Hekou Village, a scenic spot with another broken bridge. I met my driver, Mr. Shen, and we began our journey.
So Kim Jong-un focuses on the economy. He came to the island and it was a rainy season and there was flood, and he said that
We first stopped off at a memorial for another group of Chinese soldiers who crossed the Yalu River during the Korean War. Then we arrived at the entrance to the Hushan Great Wall, which translates as Tiger Mountain. Before hiking up the mountain along the wall, we went to see the One Step, a place where the river is so narrow that if there wasn't a huge border fence, you'd be able to take one step from China into North Korea. We then began the steep hike up the Great Wall. Along the way, Mr. Shen told me about how the wall was structured to protect against raiders. We continued on, hoping to get incredible views into North Korea. Here's what I saw.
in spring a lot of work is done here. It's the time to plant seeds and grow seeds. In rural areas, so all private and then collective.
So the river is only 1 meter wide, right?
Yes. Yeah, you see. You could see.
Yeah. Amazing. So narrow all along here.
It was then time to hike back down the Great Wall. It had been awesome to take the number of the new 7 wonders of the world that I visited to 3, especially here at its most eastern point, overlooking fascinating activity happening in North Korea. I can't wait to visit other sections of the wall in the future. We started the 50-kilometer drive along the border to Hekou Village. Along the way, we drove past a huge number of peach blossoms, which covered the hills all around us. The village is situated on a small Chinese-owned island in the middle of the river. Before heading over there, Mr. Shen and I went to the home of a local woman who had prepared a huge lunch for us. We had a whole river fish in sauce, veg, cornbread, and corn porridge. So big that she gave me the leftovers to take with me afterwards, fish head and all. I would not have believed you if beforehand you'd told me we'd be eating in a local woman's front room, from which you could see North Korea out the window, by the way, 60 kilometers up the road from Dandong. We entered the Hekou Scenic Area, having bought tickets for a boat ride and to walk along the broken bridge. We were queuing up for the boat ride when a man approached us and informed Mr. Shen that the Chinese were no longer letting foreigners on the boat, as North Korea would likely complain to China about my presence should I be spotted on a boat from the Korean side. However, we were still allowed to go onto the broken bridge. At the start, there is a statue of Mao Anying, the eldest son of Mao Zedong, who crossed into Korea here during the Korean War. He was later killed by an American napalm bomb. Like the Yalu Broken Bridge, the Hekou Bridge was also bombed by the Americans. Lining the bridge were Chinese and North Korean flags, as well as larger flags commemorating the different Chinese armies that fought in the Korean War. At the end of the bridge, there was a peace memorial and more views into the mysterious North Korea. Also at the end was a sign for the G331 highway, which spans over 9,000 kilometers from Dandong all the way to the far north of the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region.
It's an everlasting peace.
Ah.
It was then time to head back to Dandong.
He was, those who had access to plans were the first to get rich. So
Back in town, Mr. Shen took me to the Memorial Hall of the War to Resist U.S. Aggression and Aid Korea, also called the Korean War Museum. It's the only museum about the war in China. The memorial tower outside is 53 meters high since the war ended in 1953. The writing on the side is in Deng Xiaoping's handwriting. Inside told the tale of China's involvement in the Korean War, including these death toll figures: 200,000 Chinese deaths and nearly 3 million overall. Outside the museum were around 140 pieces of equipment used in the war, including tanks and planes. After saying goodbye to Mr. Shen, I headed for some dinner, and it turned out the restaurant I was eating at was showing KCTV, which is the only North Korean TV channel. After that, it was time for a North Korean beer. It's called Tai Donggang and is brewed in the capital, Pyongyang. And as one last sight on my way to catch a train back to Shenyang, I saw a cargo train coming across the Friendship Bridge from North Korea into China. Thank you all for watching. Not quite sure how I was stupid enough to delete all the camera videos, but I'm glad I can still put out some sort of video. Stay tuned for the next one where I show you what I got up to in Shenyang.